Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder when I head out for a walk and deliver an episode to you while I stroll around. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good afternoon, dear listeners. It is a chilly January day here in suburban Chicago. It's icy. You can hear it crunching under my feet. And I am, again, recording episodes to finish up season 3 in the middle of my usual December-January hiatus. As a reminder, I take a hiatus in December and January because of Christmas break. I spend the holidays with my family. And then in January, I teach a January term class that takes several hours each day. And so it ends up being very difficult for me to get the podcast edited and posted. Now that said, I am saving some time this year because I don't have to commute. I'm teaching the class from home this year, and so with that experience, I don't have to worry about the extra time spent commuting, and I'm able to get a lot of work done. So, boom, bang, boom, boom, boom. I don't know what that sound was. I hope it was enjoyable to you because it felt pretty dumb to me. So I was trying to remember what I did last year at the end of January at the end of December, because I felt like January should be a time for taking stock, figuring out what the new year is, making some plans and goals, talking about things like my 10 for 10. But I thought I did all of that in January. I also know that's when I usually do my best of list. I'm going to continue my plan from this year, which is to do a best of list a year late. So this coming year will be the best of 2019 games at the beginning of 2021. But I was trying to figure out what do I usually do at the end? What do I usually do at the end of December, toward the end of the season? Because this is the off year, so I'm not doing a new top 50 list. Well, one of the things I thought I would do is a chopping block. In episode 198, right toward the end of season 2, I put 4 games on the chopping block. I said, in the next year, I'm going to evaluate these 4 games to decide whether or not they should stay in my collection or not. So I thought I would review the chopping block, let you know what games stayed and what games didn't, and add some new ones and give you a collection update as well. So in case you haven't listened to episode 198 recently, the 4 games that I put on the chopping block were Lemuria, Apocrypha, Robinson Crusoe, and Redacted. Now, 2 of those games I did get played on the table this year, Apocrypha and Robinson Crusoe, so I'll start with those. Well, Apocrypha, man, this holds a weird spot in my heart. I was pretty enthusiastic for the Kickstarter. I did not go all in. I didn't get the branded binders or the branded card sleeves or any of that stuff, but I did get both expansions, so my Apocrypha set is complete and full and robust. I enjoyed the play that I had of it, but I felt like it's the kind of game where you really need to play it a lot all at once to kind of get the feel for it and understand it, and so I said, yeah, I'll come back to it, and then I put it back on my shelf, and I haven't touched it again. But I'm still intrigued by it. I like the story, I love the art, I like the writing, so I decided, yeah, it's staying. I'm going to try it again. I don't have it on the chopping block for 2021 because I just decided to keep it, but I would like to get it played again. It would be fun to play through, and I'm not sure it's a game I would play through twice, but it would be fun to play through the scenarios and figure out how the game works and see what I can do with it. So yes, Apocrypha, the adventure card game from Lone Shark, stays. Then we have Robinson Crusoe. I did the same thing. Robinson Crusoe was one of those games. I learned it, I played it, I thought there's something interesting here. Let's try it again, and then I never got it back out. Well, I finally did get it back out. I just over the summer, I read the rules through a couple times, got the game all set up on an afternoon when I didn't have anything else I needed to do. Got it all set up, played it, and absolutely hated it. Oh my gosh. What? If you haven't played it, Robinson Crusoe is an interesting adventure game in which you're trying to survive on this cursed island and you're deploying your workers. It's a game of exhausted resources and difficult choices, but there's a significant element in which you are beholden to these weather dice and these adventure dice, and basically you don't have enough resources to do everything without rolling dice, so you have to roll some dice, and some of the dice are just really nasty. And I spent all this time learning it and getting it set up, and the dice just killed me really fast. And it wasn't fun. I did not have fun. I recognize why it might be fun for some people, and I admire the core system of the card you draw that hurts you later. That's a really clever idea, but ultimately it wasn't fun. I did not have fun, and I resented the amount of time it took me to learn it again, to get it all set up, only to just lose because of bad dice. I play Arkham Horror, the card game. I could lose because of a bad card draw just as easily, but for some reason that doesn't bother me as much as this did. And so, yeah, it was done. Once I played it that time, I was like, yeah, no thank you. And when the garage sale at Fair Game was coming around this year, I put it on the sale block and off it went. So that was Robinson Crusoe. The other two games I did not get played, Lemuria and Redacted. Both of these games I find really charming. Lemuria is an interesting little worker placement, engine building, tableau building game with a tiny footprint that I find fascinating, and a neat little resource development engine in the middle of the board that is cool. And so even though I haven't played it, I decided, yeah, it's staying for a while still. And Redacted is a thematic spy game that I'm really fond of. I haven't played it much. It's kind of clunky. The rule book is rough, but I really enjoyed it. It was one of the first Kickstarters I did, and it's got a place in my heart. So I didn't really have to think much about it to leave it on the shelf. That said, there are a few games I've got on the chopping block for this year. What's interesting is all four of these are games I find I like them, but I can't remember the last time I played them. And the whole point of the chopping block is, do I like them enough to keep them around in the environment I have, which is, playing games mostly with my family. And when I get to play games not with my family, I really aspire to play the games I'm, super jazzed to play. So sort of mediocre games, why would I keep them? So the four games that I have on the chopping block are Bunny Kingdom, which I think is a really clever little game. It's got some neat dice drafting. The art is cute, but it hasn't really caught fire with my family. We played it a couple times, but every time I suggest it gets passed over. So I feel like I should get it played one more time, and we'll see if it sticks. And if it doesn't, find someone who would prefer to have it to me. Then we have Flick 'em Up. Flick 'em Up, again, is one of those ones I have a lot of affection for. But every time I've played it, I haven't really had very much fun. The only other person in my family who likes it is my son, and I think he likes the idea of it more than the experience of it. So it hasn't gotten played much, and it's a big game, takes up a lot of space. It's wooden, it's very nice. So if there are people who do like flicking games or the idea of the game, there's a lot to be said for what's going on in Flick 'em Up. And it might go well on someone else's shelf. I'm just worried it's not going to go all that well on mine. Then finally, the fourth game is one that I very nearly sold, but when I mentioned that I was selling it, my son got very upset, and so I pulled it back and did not sell it, and now it's sat unplayed for a long time. And that's Takenoko. Takenoko is an Antoine Baza design about building a garden, and there's a panda bear walking around eating all your bamboo that you're growing, and it's a fun little game. I like it, but it's just fine. Interesting set collection. But nothing all that compelling. And again, it's just not getting played around my house. So this one goes on the chopping block for this year. Either I got to reaffirm that I do definitely want to keep it, or maybe chuck it out. That said, I said I'm trying to make the collection smaller. So I've been really taking a look at what games I'm going to keep and really trying to figure out what games to get rid of. So here are the games that are going. This first one was a target of opportunity. I saw someone posted on Reddit and said, want to buy Burgle Bros. Burgle Bros is a game that I admire the look. I love the look of it. I like the experience of it, but no one else seems to. The only time we ever play it is when I bring it out, and then it gets sort of ho-hum reactions. So I don't see why I would make a lot of effort to keep it when that's the experience I have with it. So I see someone wanting to buy it, so I reached out and had him make me an offer, and it was a generous offer, well above what I probably would have asked, 20 or 30%, I would say. So glad to make that trade. And off it went. So Burgle Bros out of the collection. And then I just did a hard pass over the shelves, and I said, what can go? I just got these bunch of new Christmas games. I need room on the shelves. Some stuff's got to go. First one was Mountains of Madness. Rob Davio and Miguel Coimbra, I believe, are the designers of that one. It's a fun, sort of weird co-op party game with this neat thing where you draw these cards that make you act funny. And I like it okay. My kids liked it some, but they kind of would argue about who got to have the weird power more. And my wife hated it. So not a game I've gotten to play much, and I think if I sell it without saying anything, no one will miss it. Next up, Imperial Settlers Roll and Write. We had a couple fun plays of this game, but ultimately it's kind of boring. It didn't do a lot for us. It had an interesting idea of multiple pads. There's like you have a work pad and a community pad or something. I don't remember. We got it. We played it a couple times when we first got it. I put it down on the shelf. It's never come back out. I think it can go. Imperial Settlers Roll and Write. Next one up is Notre Dame. Now this is a game from Stefan Feld. I got it a couple years ago during the Amazon sale. So I got it for a relatively low price. Played it once. Thought it was pretty harsher than most games I usually enjoy. Too much of a soulless Euro and too vicious to fit my family's play style. Not enough theme to really land in my I love this kind of game side of things. Didn't find the choices all that compelling, really. And so goodbye Notre Dame. Now this next one I'm very affectionate of, and this is Tosh Kalar. Tosh Kalar is an abstract game from Vlaada Chvátil. It's really fun, thinky, but I never play it. And I don't know who I would play it with at my house. So then it goes into would I take it somewhere else to play? Well, usually if I'm going somewhere else to play, I'm not playing two-player games. And the theme is not my favorite. I mean, the theme is there, but it's absent from the game. I mean, the theme is all in the art on the cards and the box, but the game itself has nothing to do with the theme. And I don't know. I haven't played it in a long time. I don't think I'll miss it when it's gone, or if I do, I can always play it on Board Game Arena. So, Tosh Kalar. And I do have one of the expansions, I believe, in there. So that should boost the sale price a bit. And then finally, the fastest turnaround on this list. I got a game at the Fair Game Garage sale called Otys, O-T-Y-S. Has a beautiful box cover. Decent gameplay. I did cover it on the podcast and thought it was fine. I'm glad to have gotten to play it, but I just don't see us playing. It wasn't very compelling in terms of the gameplay for my taste. And when we're in the mood to play a game that's going to take 45 minutes to an hour, there's just other games that fit our taste more. So it's just an example of being a decent game, but not good enough to stay over other things I might want to get. I mean, given the choice between this and another medium weight Euro I hadn't played before, I'm almost always gonna pick something I haven't played before. So just didn't make the cut. And then two of the games in the collection that belong to my son that he has said I could sell. And of course, the money from selling those would go to him because they're his games. Although when I talk about the size of my collection, I include these games because they're in our collection. But I do keep track of when someone gets a game as a gift or someone buys a game, it's their game. And then if I sell it, it's their money, not mine. But this is Stuffed Fables and Crazy Carts. Stuffed Fables was fine. I think my son liked it, but nobody else really liked it. And I think he only liked it as an idea that all of us were playing together. And so when we weren't, then it's just a box sitting on the shelf. And he's also not that drawn to play. He doesn't suggest it very often. So that one's going to go. And Crazy Carts is the same way. It's a very complicated game. And I think my son liked the idea of it more than the play of it. So that one had to go, or is going as well. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games that are going on the sale pile, as well as the games that are on the pile that haven't gone there before. I'm tempted. I haven't decided one way or the other. There is a Chicago area no-ship math trade coming up that I confess is very tempting. It's tempting to put the games into the no-ship math trade and use them to trade for other games. On the plus side, that would goose my acquisition disorder, as they say on Secret Cabal, by letting me get some new games in exchange for these old games. On the other hand, the whole point of getting rid of them is to reduce the collection size. So if I trade game for game, the collection size doesn't change at all. So, competing motives there as I think about how I will resolve that. I have to know by Friday. Friday's the deadline to post the games in the math trade. So if I haven't done it by then, I'll have decided by then, and I will let you know, dear listener. So as you roll into the new year, how do you manage your collection? I would love to know, are you like me? You're somebody who's always on the lookout for the next fun game and keeping your collection small is a challenge? Or are you somebody who dives deep? I had a conversation on Board Game Geek last week with somebody who was looking for a podcast where people talk about the long depth of a game where they played 100 times and talk about what they enjoy about it or whatever. That's an interesting challenge because I don't know how you make a podcast out of that. Because you can't cover this, you can't do episode after episode about the same game, I wouldn't think. But you also don't have time to play, even if you did once a month, 12 games, 50 times each, that's 600 plays just for the podcast. That's deep. Anyway, are you somebody like that? So collection size isn't an issue? Or are you a one in, one out kind of person? Let me know. Head over to Board Game Geek Guild 3269 and post in the guild there. Or you can reach out to me, Wombat929 on Board Game Geek, Brendan at Rattlebox Games by email, or over on the asynchronous board game sites Board Game Arena, Boîte à Jeux, and Yucata. I'm Wombat929. If you'd like to play a game, reach out. I always enjoy having a handful of games running. Well, thanks for joining me today on my walk. I hope to hear about your collection and how your hobby management is going. And until next time, your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.